E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna Guimwa, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guimwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief.
Good afternoon. It's Friday. We all made it. Welcome to the Messages of Inspirational Stories. Jim, how are you today?
I'm doing fine. I'm just so glad to be here. I want to give a shout out to all the good folks that's been watching us, our audience. Thank you so very much. I'm so excited because I got 2 microphones today. That was the best speaker award there. And the way I won this award, the other folks had the flu and couldn't make it.
Nice, Jim.
I was wondering if you were going to catch that or not. I didn't know. But no, it's a wonderful honor for us to be here today. One of the highlights of our day, because we do daily shows here every single day. And for Don and I for us to get into the studio and share information, oh my goodness gracious, it don't get any better than that for us.
It really doesn't. It is truly a joy and is our calling.
It really is. And today, as I promised yesterday, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Mr. Earl Nightingale. He's the author of The Strangest Secret. And as you will see today, part of The Strangest Secret is that he is one of the best kept secrets on planet Earth.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
And my guess is we're actually going to be talking an awful lot about him.
Donna has got this mental crystal ball, and when she says something like that, what that means, we're going to be talking a lot about him.
Well, I got to tell you, before we jump into everything, as hot as it's been here last month or so, we finally got rain.
You must be living right.
Mm-hmm. And we got some rain. It poured for a while. And I'm happy to say my new roof held.
Yeah, that would have been really depressing after all that time. All of you been through and remodeling your house. And it started in the attic back, in April, replacing all the duct work and everything.
Yes.
I mean,
we're still in the midst of it, but
yeah,
not something you can do overnight.
Oh, no. But you can imagine when these guys come in, they're tearing your house apart and all that. And you're thinking, okay, is this going to come out the way I envisioned it or not? And
right.
Especially when you're writing big money, because that costs quite a bit of money, what you did there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. But so the good thing is we're taking the house into the right century.
Yeah. That's exactly right. So that means today, to help pay the bills, instead of this being an hour broadcast, it's going to be a 2.5 hour.
Oh my goodness.
No, we'll just be our regular hour. But I want to get started out today with today's National Day. And Donna, I know that you and we enjoy doing this because today is the National Day for Cream Tea Day. Donna,
yes.
have you ever had any cream tea?
I tried it once and I don't like it.
Okay, I never have. But if you like it and if you're going to try it, today's the day.
My daughter, Gaia, she drinks cream in her tea. And I looked at her and I always giggle and I say, girl, I don't know where you got that from, because I drink my tea black and I drink my coffee black. And she just looked at me. She said, yeah, well, I can't help it that you don't have good taste.
That sounds like her. That sounds like Gaia.
Right?
And you saw her picture there on the introduction there. She's our editor-in-chief and does a wonderful job. Very intelligent young lady. My goodness gracious. And, Donna, it just amazes me how when I was growing up, and I grew up in the South, and sweet tea is the standard there.
Oh yeah.
In fact, I didn't know there was. I thought that's the way everybody drank tea. And that changed for me when I went into the Army, because sometimes, in that pork and bean can outfit I was in, sometimes we didn't have sugar,
Right.
Depending on, especially we went out to the field. That's because I drank sugar and everything.
Right.
My coffee, I had it sweet, hot, and blonde, as the old saying goes. But, I learned to drink my tea and my coffee without sweetener, and I like it so much better. And like you, I get putting cream in tea it never did appeal to me. I know there's a lot of people out there that love it. I know a lot
Right.
of people out there say, "Hey, I enjoy it. That's that's a treat for me."
Well, and
And
that's what's important is if you enjoy
yeah,
it.
exactly. And if you've never tried it, at least give it a try. If it sounds interesting to you, and you may like it or may not. But today is the National Day for Cream Tea Day.
And here's a
And
big one, Jim.
uh-huh.
National Farmer Day.
Oh, yes. Yes. I tip my hat to farmers.
Absolutely.
They have the hardest job.
They do.
I mean, they get up
It's
at
sometimes
before.
thankless.
Yeah, exactly. We go to the produce store or something, go to the produce aisle, and we expect, fresh veggies and all this. And if it's not there, we get aggravated. And if it
Right.
is there, we don't even think about the sweat equity that went into that.
Mm-hmm.
And I get a kick out of people that say, well, daylight saving time was created for the farmer. We're like, the farmer don't eat. The farmer farms by the sun and the moon. That's it. They get up before the sun. They'll work down to sundown sometimes, and sometimes they got lights on the tractor and they'll have to plow late or whatever. But also, they know the value of planting in when the moon is full. The crops do better.
Mm-hmm.
And so the farmers are in tune with the sun and the moon. They're not, they don't really pay too much attention to that mechanical device on the wall or whatever they were on their phone or whatever.
Right.
And, Donna, we're just going to give a shout out to farmers, because thank you so much
Absolutely.
for not only feeding us here in America, but for feeding folks around the world. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
And today, oh my goodness gracious, I remember when today is National Food Truck Day.
Ah, the
Oh,
old roach coach.
yeah, that's what everybody would holler. The food truck would come up and someone would say, "Hey guys, Roach Coach." Okay, we were all out there. I don't
You're
know
right.
why. And we were excited for a Roach Coach. I mean, it's funny how we have these slang terms for things, but they mean a lot to us. And these folks drive their trucks out there and feed folks in the field or on construction sites or whatever. Thank you so much. And because that's another job that's pretty hard to do, because you got to make sure you're in compliance with everything. And
And the
these are just,
planning.
oh yeah,
A lot of
you got to,
planning goes into it.
and you got to know what your clients will like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oh, Donna, how about this next one here? I'm going to let you take that one there.
National Pralines Day.
Yeah, because I'm afraid I'd start slobbering.
So there's a
dripping.
theme here, folks. Every time we talk about food
Mhm.
on our National Today, Jim gets a little bit crazy.
Yeah, I do. And it's not, I read on the directions when I got this mic here, it's not good to slobber in the mic, or drool in it. Oh, this next one is something that's really near and dear to our hearts, and I know to a lot of you folks out there. Today is the National Take Your Dog to Work Day. Oh my goodness gracious. If you work in your home, you've got your dog there with you every day if you have a dog in. I mean,
Yep.
but for folks, I always thought it was really neat for businesses to allow their employees to bring their kids to work one day,
Right.
and to bring the dog to work one day. And sometimes on Friday they have, just, come in, relaxed gear, clothing on and all that. I think that's a
Right.
wonderful thing.
It is. It is.
It really is. And what else do we have on the menu today, Donna?
Well,
Let's see. Swim a lap day. That's a,
that's a good, healthy thing.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's a great cardio workout. It's less stress and strain on your joints, especially as you get,
Older.
yeah, that's the word. That's the word. Especially when, 40's way back there in the rearview mirror, along with 50 and 60 for me. Even 70's in my rearview mirror. But
Well, swimming is as absolutely known to be wonderful exercise. So,
mhm.
like you said, it's so much easier on your joints,
Oh, yeah.
but it still gives you the resistance you need,
Mhm.
and it can just do a lot of wonderful, wonderful things.
I'll tell you something else that reminds me of about being in the water like it, like in a swimming pool. Muhammad Ali was known for being very fast with his fist.
Right.
He was one of the fastest punchers in the boxing world, for that matter, and of course heavyweight champ. Multiple time, couple of times, and but he used to practice punching underwater. He practiced his speed there. He
Makes sense.
visualized he had a rope with a pulley on it, like a jump rope.
Right.
He would pull and push and pull and push, and that's how he developed a lot of his speed.
Well, and it's again, it's resistance training.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. And there's no stress on the bones or tendons or anything like that, or the
Right.
muscles. It's a wonderful workout, and that's just like swimming's very good for you if you got back problems and things like that. And there's a lot of good things about swimming. So if you have medical issues or physical issues like that, uh, and I'm sure you probably already explored it, but if not, please explore that. Please explore natural ways to be able to help you adjust your life and be able to ease the pain so you can enjoy the quality of life that you're entitled to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that leads us into a gentleman I've talked a lot about, Mr. Earl Nightingale.
Well, Jim, his story is amazing. And I
Mm,
think to do this justice, we always talk about, you can go on YouTube and get the strangest secrets. But
mhm.
I think to truly do this justice, we
Okay.
need to talk about him
Mhm.
from the beginning.
Mhm. You're
From the
exactly right. You're exactly right, because Earl Nightingale was a man who he grew up in poverty. And I think, Donna, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he actually grew up. He lived in a tent city. He was born in 1921, and this was in Long Beach, California. And this was behind some old marina type apartments where his mother and father raised him and his two brothers. And in 1933, the Great Depression was all worldwide, basically, definitely here
right,
in the United States. And his father left, and his mother was forced to raise three boys on her own. There were millions of people out of work. He knew what poverty was. So, right there, Donna, that's a lesson for young people to say, well, I can't do anything because I never had any financial backing or any financial help or anything like that. Earl Nightingale never looked at money as being a problem, did he?
no, he didn't. And this is interesting. It says that um, says Earl Nightingale's life was unique in of American business. Caught in the Great Depression as a boy of 12, he could not justify poverty when he was told there was plenty for everyone in this abundant
Mhm.
land. He
Yeah.
therefore decided to discover why people succeeded or fail in life, and was determined that he would become financially successful at an early age. It goes
Mhm.
on to say, stationed aboard the battleship USS Arizona,
Mhm.
he was one of a handful of survivors that when the ship was destroyed and sank at Pearl Harbor later.
Mhm.
When separated from the Marine Corps in 1946 and starting with practically nothing, in 10 years he founded and headed four corporations. He wrote, sold, and produced 15 radio and television programs per week.
Wow.
He appeared on all major networks and for 4 years was the star of their dramatic series, Sky King, which was carried on more than 500 stations of the Mutual Radio Network. He also began an insurance agency and in 12 months led it from last to sixth place in the nation with one of the world's largest companies.
Wow, that is amazing, because I tell people when I was about 17 or 18, this is right before I went in the Army, Earl Nightingale, I knew who he was, but I didn't know anything about him. I knew he was a radio personality. I'd heard his voice on the radio. He had a deep, gravelly type of voice. But I was at the service station there, close to my house, and this car pulls up, and the radiator is heating up, and it's smoking.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy gets out, and I recognized him a little bit, but when he spoke, I knew who he was. This was Earl Nightingale. And DeWitt, the owner of the Esso station there, gas station, told him, just pull the car over there and just let it sit and cool off, because it's so hot. If we try to, take off that radiator count, it's going to pop, it's going to blow, and somebody could get scalded.
Oh, absolutely.
And so he did. And what amazed me about him, he walked over to the payphone, because back in, obviously in that day and time, in the late 60s, we didn't have cell phones, never even heard of them. And he put some money into the payphone there and called this number. And whoever he spoke to, he says, I just want to let you know I'm running late. My car overheated. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. They're going to fix it. He says, when I get ready to leave, he says, I will give you a call and give you an approximate time to expect me. And he was just as calm about it if he was just sitting there in a barber shop, or as a lady would be sitting in a beauty shop, because I know now they got appointments, but if you do a walk-in, you're just going to pleasantly sit there and wait.
Right.
Maybe read a magazine or something. That's basically, he had something with him that he was looking at, and he was preparing his mind. So he knew how to use time. Okay, this happened. Okay, this is an interruption. I'm going to use this time productively to condition my mind or to train my mind on something else. And in The Strangest Secret, you can find it on YouTube. In fact, that's the link for it. I mean, not the link, but that's the title for it. You can search it on YouTube. If you live in a country YouTube's not available, just go to Earl Nightingale. There's a couple sites on there about Earl Nightingale, but put in the Strangest Secret. You can download a PDF form that is verbatim of what the YouTube video says. And Donna, I love the way he starts out his PDF there when he's talking on his introduction. He talks about, he says, I would like to tell you about the strangest secret in the world. Not long ago, Albert Schweitzer, the great doctor and Nobel Prize winner, was interviewed in London. And a reporter asked him, Doctor, what's wrong with men today? And the great doctor was silent for a moment. And then he says, men simply don't think. And it's about that particular topic that he wanted to share in The Strangest Secret. Now, how important is it, Donna, for people out there who are wanting to do something, to sit down, have quiet time, and because the first thing they got to do is plan their strategy.
Absolutely. And it all starts with a thought, and the thought then goes to an action.
Mm-hmm.
And the first action is putting on paper.
Yeah.
Putting it on paper.
And Donna, me and the way a lot of people do, write it down or type it up on in your computer, whatever, but sleep on it, because your gut feeling will communicate to you when you wake up in the morning. This was either a good idea, this was either a bad idea, or, most of the time you'll think of something else that, I should have done it that way. And that will really help you in your planning, because strategy comes first before your marketing and before any type of selling.
Right.
as I mentioned yesterday, with strategy, once you get your strategy down, then you can create your marketing plan, and then you can create your plan of execution, which is your sales plan.
Right.
That is the proper way. And
And
there's no shortcuts there, is it?
No. And if I can interject,
Please.
when you set up your marketing plan, understand the demographics of who and what you're targeting.
Yeah.
That is so important. So you don't want to go after, the wrong age group, wrong, just completely the wrong demographics. You need to target where your audience is going to lay.
Exactly.
That is key. If you don't do that, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
You take, for example, Red Bull. Red Bull would not be a good sponsor or advertiser with us because our market is the most majority, and we got some young people here too, don't misunderstand me, but our core our core audience starts at about 45 and goes up to 65.
Right.
We're about 69% women and 31% men.
Right.
And in that age group, they're not interested in any energy drinks. They really aren't.
Right.
And we're more interested into what's on sale.
What's good for us.
Yes, what's good for us. How can we treat our body? Because we deserve that.
But what I also would like to interject before we deep dive into Earl Nightingale's story on The Strangest Secret is that the beautiful thing about this, for those of you who have children at home or your grandchildren, whatever, is this, as you read it, it can be implied and worked into your children.
Yes, yes.
And I think that's important because for me, it is so important that our youth has every available opportunity and that we give them the tools for a solid foundation.
Yes. Because our youth today, as sad as it is,
they're tomorrow's leaders, though.
Yeah, they really are. But today, they've been so inundated with, games and stuff. And a lot of these games are violent.
Yeah.
I mean, they really are. And I'm surprised, some of these companies haven't been sued for all of the, it's kill or be killed, a lot of the games are. But most importantly, they are not trained to think. They're trained to pass tests, but they're not trained to think. And there's a lot of education.
Or to ask questions.
Or to have an opinion.
Right.
They want to be trained to a standard that most of the time does not fit the family in their morals, values, and ethics and beliefs. And that is WRONG, which stands for wrong. It really is. Because everybody has a unique personality. Everybody has their unique gifts. And one of the things, too, Donna, I want to mention, if I may, the thing I love about what we share, we're talking today about Earl Nightingale. We've talked about many times about Bill Heinrich, the 7 levels of truth. All of these things are saying the same thing. Because as Earl will say later on in the Strangest Secret, we probably won't have time to get to it on this show, but Bill is saying the same thing as Earl. When you asked something of the universe, listen to this, the universe cannot deny you.
Right.
And, Don, a lot of people probably hear that and go like, what? Are you kidding me? Yeah, I've asked for this. You might be asking for the wrong thing. Because it's not what you dream up in the canyons of your mind that will determine your life's path. It's what you were created for, the gifts, the talents, the lifestyle, and the life path that's already predestined for you to travel. And so
your
if you want to go,
gifts and abilities.
Yeah, if you want to go east and they want you to go in the life cycle, want you to go west, you're going to run into a lot of no's. If you do get no's, guess what? It doesn't mean that you're not intelligent or you're not smart. It just meant that your decision at that point in time was not the right decision for you. So just blow it off and go on.
It really means next opportunity.
I love it when they talk about I love it. I think it was, who was it? Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone talked about when one door closes, another door will open, and
Right.
forever, ever adversity brings the seed of a greater benefit
Right.
if we're open-minded. And that's the same thing that Earl Nightingale is talking about. That's the same thing that W. Clement Stone and Napoleon Hill talked about in their book, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. The same thing that Mr. Bill Heinrich talks about in the 7 Levels of Truth. This is the actual latest copy of his book. It's on, and this is a picture of Mr. Wild Bill right there. You can see if I move it closer, the price on that is $17.95. It's on Amazon. We do not receive any funds from Bill, because Bill is a personal friend of ours. He works with us. We work with him. We help one another.
Absolutely.
That's how you get ahead.
Absolutely.
And Donna, when it comes to Earl, he grew up in poverty. He knew what poverty was. His mother was poor. And that was the catalyst that started him on a journey of thinking to find out why. Because he says, we live in a golden age. He's talking about the mid-50s and all.
Right.
And the middle of the 20th century, because we did live, it was a golden age here in the United States. And so this is an era that men have looked forward to and dreamed of for thousands of years. And it's here.
Mm-hmm.
But sadly, we take it for granted. We feel like we're entitled to this. And we're not.
Right.
We need to love it and appreciate it. He says, here in America, particularly, we're fortunate to live in the richest land that ever existed on the face of the earth. That's true. A land of abundant opportunity for everyone. And he says, let's take a look at 100 people who start at the age of 25. And do you have any idea what happens to them by the time they turn 65? Out of this 100 people who start out at 25, they believe they're going to be successful because they're young. That's what young people think, isn't it, Donna?
It is.
And
7'9" and bulletproof.
Good looking and all those things, like when we came out of school, my graduating class, I guess all graduating classes can say this, we were going to set the world on fire.
Fire, absolutely.
I'm glad now we didn't. But, he goes on to say, when people reach 65, it's here in the United States now. We're the land of milk and honey. The country that so many people who come to this country legally, immigrants, and they're welcome, of course. They risk their lives. They risk their fortunes. They risk everything just to have the opportunity that a lot of us Americans wake up in the morning, we yawn, and we think we're entitled to. That's how spoiled and pitiful we have become as a people. But by the time they're 65, only 1 will be rich. 4 will be financially independent. 5 will still be working. And listen to this, 54 will still be broke.
Right.
What does that say about us? Now you're starting to see why, Earl Nightingale was a down-to-earth kind of a guy.
Right.
And the strangest secret that he discovered in that, but he takes you on a mental journey. And Donna, I tell you right now, I don't know if I said this before the show or not. I don't recall. I was going to say it. I wanted to make myself a mental note and make sure I said it. The strangest secret on earth, really, is that Earl Nightingale is not known much of. He's the secret. That's the strangest secret to me, especially with his wisdom and knowledge. And Donna's over there, she's enjoying herself. She's a drinking on the job.
I am. It's coffee day.
There you go. Every day's National Coffee Day at Donna's house.
It's true. But the interesting thing he goes on to say about this is, now think a moment. Out of 100, only 5 make the grade. Why do so many fail?
Yeah.
What has happened to the sparkle that was there when they were 25? What becomes of the dreams, the hopes, the plans, and why is there such a large disparity between what these men intended to do and what they actually accomplished? When we say about 5% achieve success, we have defined success, and then there's definition.
Mm-hmm.
Success is the progressive realization of a worthy idea.
Amen.
If a man is working towards a predetermined goal and knows where he is going, that man is success.
Mm-hmm.
If he's not doing that, he's a failure.
Mm-hmm.
Success is the progressive realization of a worthy idea.
Mm-hmm. He goes on to talk about Rollo May, Rollo May, May. He's a distinguished psychiatrist who wrote a powerful book called Man's Search for Himself. And in this book, this is interesting, folks. In this book, he says the opposite of courage in our society is not cowardice. It is the conformity. Think about that. The opposite of courage is not cowardice, but it's conformity. And we see in our country today so many people just going along with the flow, just conform to the standard. They don't want to make any waves. They feel
Don't buck the system.
Yeah. And you've got a lot of young people, maybe a child or grandchild that's coming up. Maybe their calling in life is to buck the system. And I'm not talking about being a renegade or rebel or anything like that, but I'm talking about a child that has got the intelligence and the gift and the ability to think for themselves. Open that door.
Right.
Encourage them to develop their given talents and gifts and use them to be a blessing to mankind. Don't conform to the yakety sacks and nonsense of this world. That doesn't take any intelligence at all. All that does is just take laziness.
Right. And help nurture them.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Help nurture them. Mm-hmm. We in fact, because we did a whole, I believe it was a week long, of young entrepreneurs, 18 and under.
Yes, we did.
And it was shockingly amazing, folks, how these people took just something that they really enjoyed and was a little hobby, maybe wanted to make some money. Mm-hmm. And their parents came behind them and said, all right, let's do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they are wildly successful.
And the beautiful thing about that is these young people, they're still young enough to know or to not take any type of temporary setback as a permanent failure.
Right.
That comes with age and ignorance, folks.
Right.
And I've been on both sides of the street of that. I've demonstrated my age and my ignorance.
Right. Well,
I have.
You're not alone, Jim.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Misery loves company. No, but when you're honest with yourself, and like if I'm talking to a young person and tell them, I know what it's like to fail. I've been there. Mm-hmm. But I also know what it's like to get back up.
Right.
And that's when joy and jubilee comes into your life. And, again, I've said many times before, one of the most common threads that 500 of the richest people that ever lived in the United States that Napoleon Hill interviewed, there was two things they had in common. Number one, they had a great mother. Mm-hmm. So all you beautiful ladies out there, I salute you. Number two, they had tried and failed and tried and failed. And they just said, I'm going to try one more time.
Right.
And success came. And Napoleon Hill says, he's thought about that many times. Why don't people just keep on keeping on until they finally succeed? I mean, look at all the failures that Edison had trying to invent the incandescent bulb. He said about 10,000 failures.
Right.
And his attitude was, I had to succeed because I finally ran out of everything. It wouldn't work.
That's the truth. And, I don't I don't remember who it was. Who was it who said that there's one place you can find where dreams go that haven't been realized? And that's
that was Les Brown.
Yes.
He says, Richard, I was at a place and I spoke on stage, and Les was on stage when he said this. He says, where is the richest place on earth? And I'm thinking, well, I know it's not in my hometown. And I'm thinking Abu Dhabi. And he says, the richest place on planet Earth is the graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
because there's where you're going to find all of the dreams that were never lived out, all of the books that were never written, all of the inventions that
Right.
were never created because of self-doubt and self-justification of why
Mm-hmm.
that invention could never become a reality. It was Les Brown. Oh my goodness gracious. Tremendous speaker,
Big
tremendous
lesson to
motivation.
learn there.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, he goes on to say in here, and he talks about, why are some people, um, why they go on, why they don't do well, supporting a
Mhm,
family.
mhm,
But here's what I found was interesting. He said, by the time we're 65,
mhm,
we haven't learned how to become financially independent in the richest land that has ever been known.
mhm,
Why? We conform, and the trouble is that we're acting like the wrong percentage group, the 95% who don't succeed. Now, why do these people conform?
mhm.
Well, they only know, I'm sorry, well, they don't know really. These people believe that their lives are shaped by circumstances, by things that happen to them, by exterior forces.
Mm,
They're outer directed people.
mm. That is so true. I love what he says as he goes on. He says a survey was made one time that covered a lot of working men, and these men were asked the question, "Why do you get up and go to work in the morning?" 19 out of 20 did not have a foggy idea or clue. You think about that for a moment. I mean, if
Right.
someone asked you, "Why are you doing something?" Well, I don't know. Everybody else does it. And he talks about the system that we're in. Now, I don't know about how the system works in your particular country, but here in the United States, the system is designed to allow the weakest people and to be able to make a living.
Right.
Doesn't require a lot of intelligence. It doesn't require a lot of mental thinking. All they got to do is go up, show up, and perform the tasks they're hired to do, and they can get along. So
Right.
the system as a whole is made up not for people to succeed, but for the people who are not really trying that hard. Maybe that's a little cruel because working every day at a job is that you are trying. But what I'm saying is that you're not trying to excel. Your goal is not to become financially independent. And so the system is designed to make sure it will not leave you behind. That's why the majority of people retire to their backyard, live on a fixed income, and hope and pray nothing breaks in the house because they don't have the additional extra funds to pay for it.
Right. Paycheck to paycheck.
Mhm. Or direct deposit, direct deposit.
Well, and we've had we had several shows where we've talked about finances, and one of
Oh
the
yeah.
things that I can say with all honesty, and it's something my father taught me, and of course when he told me this, I was too young and dumb to understand. Rolled my eyes. Oh, what's dad know? And he said that every year he got a pay raise. He took that money and put it into either invested it or into savings and or both. And I looked at him and I remembered this conversation. I was pretty young, just early teens. And I said, "Well, why would you do that, Dad?" And he looked at me and he smiled and he says, "Well, baby girl," he said, "because we're already living off of X amount of dollars. So
Hmm.
this is just extra. And if you don't save," the man was so wise. He
Hmm.
said, "If you don't save, you'll never have."
Hmm.
When I was about 8, I was all excited in my piggy bank. And I said, "Look, Daddy, I got $1." And he smiled and he said, "Good job." He said, "Now I'm going to tell you something and I want you to remember this." He said, "Always take care of your pennies, your nickels, your dimes, and your quarters. And when you can do that, the dollars will take care of themselves."
That's true.
How powerful is
That's
that?
true. Yeah. And one of the things I like about Earl Nightingale, when he talks about success, he's not just talking about financial success.
No, internal success.
Yes, internal success. He says because success is the person that's teaching the school teacher because they're doing what they want to do.
Right.
Success is the person who is a mechanic because that person loves fixing cars, working
Right.
on things with their hands. Success is being what it is that you want to do. This falls right back into what we were talking about earlier. A child has to think for themselves and understand what their calling is in life.
Right.
And for them to live that, fulfill that calling, that's what makes them successful because there is no place on planet Earth that can sell happiness in a store.
Right.
Happiness must come from within.
Success should never be defined by money.
No, no. In fact, the success is money is the last thing can make you successful.
Right.
It really is.
Success is getting up every day with a smile on your face and joy in your
Mhm.
heart.
Oh,
Success
yeah.
is saying, I'm blessed to be here another day.
Mhm.
I'm blessed to do what I love. I'm
Mhm.
blessed to be able to reach out to, you know, uh, my partner, my children, my friends, and tell them that I love them.
Mhm.
That is true success.
It really, truly is because when you're a blessed, whatever your calling in life is, because you stop and think about the school teacher, the car mechanic I mentioned,
The mother,
uh, the mother, I mean, right on down the line, everything that they do is not for themselves, it's to bless others.
right?
Because we've all had car trouble, for example, and you got a good mechanic back there, either male or female, working on it, and they fix it. You're happy.
Mhm.
Because now my vehicle's fixed. I'm back on the road. You may not be, doing somersaults over the bill, but
Right?
but but my point being, you appreciate the fact that there was someone in there that had the knowledge, the expertise, and the heart that they wanted to fix your vehicle and get
Right.
you back on the road.
Right?
That's the important thing. That's what makes people successful in life.
Right. Doing what
And
they love and love what they're doing.
And we got to promote these people here. We hadn't done that in the last few shows, the Shelter to Soldier, because these folks here, they're doing what they love to do. They're a nonprofit. They go into shelters, animal shelters. They get the dogs that are pretty big size or big size dogs. Their chance of being adopted out is very, very, very low. And so they take the dog. They actually, the dog doesn't have to worry about, being put to sleep or anything. So they save that dog's life. They train that dog because that dog is smart enough to know, hey, these people saved my life. And they trained a dog to specialize in certain things like PTSD, how to recognize that, how to be a companion dog, how to be a
Right.
dog that can really, help people in their hour of need. And even untrained dogs, even your pets that love you, they can tell what's going on with you, can't they, Donna?
Oh, I got living proof of that with my 12-year-old boy.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He has, when I started having seizures, first couple times he come up and before I realized it was going to be a regular thing, he'd come up and do the Pyrenees paw, which is kind of painful, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what the
Bam, bam.
right? I thought, what the hell is he doing? And then after about the third time, it dawned on me he was sensing it before it ever came.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that boy follows
Mm-hmm.
my emotions like,
Yeah.
nobody's business.
Mm-hmm. I remember one time I was in Sierra Vista, Arizona, right outside of Fort Huachuca, and these folks had I've only seen this breed of dog one time. It's called a Kuvas,
Oh, gorgeous
Kuvasc.
dogs. Gorgeous dogs.
Big, huge, royal guard dogs is what they are. They were known for protecting royalty.
Hmm.
And I mean, I walked in to see the guy and all that. Of course, the dog is just sitting there and the dog is just looking at me. He's not growling. He's not coming up to me. He is sitting there and he's reading me like a book.
Yep.
And after a few minutes, the dog went over and laid down. And I just looked at the dog, a very beautiful dog. And Didn't pay too much attention to him. I saw he was big, and I didn't want to, draw his attention, obviously. And my friend says, he likes you.
Right.
Is that right? And he says, yeah, because he says, if he did not like you, he would come over to you, he would growl at you, and that's his way of saying, you need to go, because
Right.
it'd be something inside of a person that dog could read and say, hey, you're not going to stay in here with my master, my family. You got to go.
My dog will always lay right in front of me.
Mm-hmm. That's a barrier.
If he doesn't trust somebody, he will lay right in front of me. And I know right then and there, I don't trust that person.
Absolutely.
It's just the fact I trust my dog absolutely to a T.
And getting back to the shelter a soldier, after they train the dogs, they bring in soldiers who suffer from PTSD or have other issues. And they introduce the soldier to 2 or 3 dogs, 4 dogs, whatever fits their, because they do an interview on a soldier. They know what the soldier's needs are, so they bring in some dogs who can fulfill those needs. And it's just simply thing that the dog and the soldier will pick each other.
Right.
They don't assign dogs. And the joy and the beauty in that is every single soldier that has received a support dog, not one has committed suicide.
That's right.
So think about the joy and jubilee that would bring to those people there. Also think about the fact that you could have a little service dog or a little comfort dog that you could, and we've mentioned this before, about taking it into retirement homes. Think about people who are there and society has forgotten them. Okay? They really have. They're in these old folks' home. A lot of times they just, wheel them out there or set them out there in their wheelchairs or whatever. And they're like flower pots sitting in the floor with the TV going,
Unfortunately, I've seen that firsthand.
I have to. And I've also seen when my mother-in-law was in hospice there, or not hospice, when she was in respite care there, we had to go out of town, come back and get her. There was some people there that never, ever, ever had a single visitor.
Yep, I've seen that as well.
Yeah, and you think about going in there with a little puppy or a little dog that's very friendly, likes people, the joy and the jubilee that could bring to that one person's heart. It could take them back mentally on a time when they had a beloved pet. And now that dog can share with them love, because that dog's going to know their love sponge is empty. And that dog will step up to the plate and say, hey, I'm here to share love with you, and the love back in return. Think about the joy and the jubilee. That's another way that you would be fully successful in life, because your efforts would be blessing someone else. Because success has nothing to do with you. You're just a person that enables others to enjoy a better life. And
you're the conduit.
Yeah, exactly right. Because a lot of people with egos, it has nothing to do with you, big guy or big gal. And that's just the way it is. And I love what Earl Nightingale talks about, including people from all walks of life, a wife and a mother doing a good job for her family. That's what makes her successful. And the joy and the jubilee that a lot of moms and mothers do for their family, like clean the house, wash the clothes, prepare the meals and all that. And you know where the kids are. Kids come in, well, that's what mom does. It's what we're entitled to. No, you're not entitled to that. I mean, you think about all the wonderful dishes your mother made, and I tell people, the reason why no food manufacturer can make a dish as good as your mother or grandmother is because your mother or grandmother added one secret ingredient that they can never buy or find anywhere. Absolutely. They made hands of love. Mm-hmm. There's just something about that love. It just flows into the food, and man, is it delicious.
Right.
And Donna, you're a mom. I mean, how does it make you feel when your family eats, something you prepared and oh my goodness, Mom, this is delicious.
I love it.
Yes.
There's not much that makes me happier in life than that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
There just isn't, Mm-hmm. When my kids come to visit, I always try and make their favorite dishes for each of them. Mm-hmm. And it brings me a great deal of pleasure to
Mm-hmm.
watch them go, oh, Mom, this is just so good. I've
Mm-hmm.
been so hungry for it, especially
Mm-hmm.
since they all live out of state.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And Earl Nightingale was a man that really focused on giving back. When you were talking earlier about how many shows does he do a week, 15 radio shows and
15.
TV. And I tell people, folks, Donna and I, we do 5 live shows a week. And me and Bill are going to start back up the radio show, and that's going to be 6 shows a week. And this shows you how smart I am. I tell people, I said, you know what? I do, when I do 6 live 1-hour shows a week, that's a lot. And I go, yeah, I can see that. And here this guy's doing 15.
Right?
That's more than twice as many as I'm doing. But this is how Earl Nightingale was focused.
Right.
This was his character. This was his calling in life. He had a very unique gift. And when you listen to Earl Nightingale on YouTube, The Strangest Secret, or if you download his PDF file, you will get it. Because one of the things that gets me is that, and this is the same thing that Bill Heinrich talks about. It's the same thing that W. Clement Stone and Napoleon Hill talk about in their book there. I mean, if you want a real treat, let me tell you a little bit about Bill here. This is his book, The 7 Levels of Truth by Bill Heinrich. And as I showed you, that's his picture there. Whoops. There we go. But feel free to contact Bill at truelifepurposenow.com. I think Don's going to put the website there. Because Bill would be more than happy to give you a complimentary 30-minute consultation. And there'll be no charge on that. He will not try to chase you down later to try to sell you a book, a program, or whatever. He's not into that. He's too busy.
True story.
Because whenever I need to talk to Bill, and me and him, we're partners in some things, I know I've got to go to his calendar and schedule a time to talk to him. That's how busy he is.
Right.
And he's just a wonderful friend of ours. And
he's a wonderful human being.
Yeah. And Bill and Earl Nightingale talk about when you ask the universe of something and say, this is what I want. Now, if you get a no, it's not the right direction. That's the answer there. But when you ask the universe for something, it cannot say no. That in itself, Donna, it took me a long time to bore a hole in my head and get that in between my ears because I had self-doubts.
Right.
And we all have self-doubts from time to time, but embrace it. Right. Because these people who have done it, different people saying the same thing, embrace it. Go with a childlike faith. And if you run into a blockade, so what? That wasn't the right calling for you. But don't ever give up on the truth that you can call on the universe and ask of it anything that you want. And the universe cannot say no to you.
And make sure you give yourself options.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So we've talked about that before. And here's why. When you make a decision, this is how it's going to be done, and this is what I'm going to do. And you put it in this teeny tiny box. And if it doesn't work out, then as humans, we automatically feel like we failed ourselves. And we just feel like a loser. And, oh my gosh, it didn't work. So there you go. Mm-hmm. But if you give yourself an option, look, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this. Mm-hmm. And if it, you go in and you try it, 9 times out of 10, you're going to see, well, that's not working the way I thought it was going to be. But right then, something else comes in. And that's where leaving yourself an option. It's like leaving the door open.
Yeah. And don't ever hesitate to ask for advice, because even today, Donna and I, later on, we have a appointment with some people who want to talk to us. And we're just going to say, okay, this is what we're looking at. This is our idea. This is our philosophy. Can you ask for their opinion? We're not trying to sell anything. Don't get me wrong. We're asking for their opinion, because when you ask people their opinion, they're very, very happy to share it with you. So if there's somebody that you'd like to get close to, make an appointment with them and ask their opinion.
Absolutely.
That way it takes down all the barriers of, oh, I'm not saying anything. This guy might or gal might want to sell me something, you know.
Right.
That's a dead end street there. Ask for their opinion because they might say something that lets a light bulb go off in your mind. You go like, I didn't even think of that. Because nobody knows everything. We know that. And
Absolutely.
remember this as we get ready to close. People do not know what you think they know. Nobody does. I mean, I'm not as good looking as I think I am, you know.
Well, Jim, I just want to say this has been an amazing 2 weeks. So,
yes.
Talking about famous people who inspire us and our children. And, we've covered a very large
group of people
and all different walks of life. And every one of them has taught us something. And we can honestly say, we hope you've enjoyed it and we hope you've learned from it. And, maybe know somebody who's looking for something in their life that this resonates with. Please share it with them. We thank you, each and every one of you, for tuning in with us.
Because everybody, regardless of age, needs a good mentor. Just make sure the mentor you pick, the mentor you pick, is worth picking.
Right.
My dad used to tell me, son, you can never have an intelligent conversation with a geranium. I used to look at him, but if you knew my dad, that would make perfect sense to you. He had a degree in Southern slang and also had a real down-to-earth country boy expression. Well, Donna, our time is gone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning in. On behalf of Donna and myself, we hope and pray that you have a wonderful weekend. Be sure and love yourself first. Then you can love others. Be sure, as Donna likes to say, give yourself
grace.
Amen. And take a look at these shows that we've had, and please share them with others, especially someone that you think would benefit from them, because that's the mission and that's the message that we deliver. We'll see you on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend, or whenever you see this. Bless you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, folks.